Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
Hi, I'm Elena.
And I am Rachel.
And we welcome you to another episode of Face Value, where we explore the relationships of people from different nationalities living here in Malta.
Today we have Jethro and David, who developed their relationship around playing rugby on the Highland. Welcome to the studio, guys.
Thank you.
So can we meet you guys, starting with Jethro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jethro, I'm Maltese. I'm 21 years old. I've been playing rugby for the past 13, 14 years.
Oh.
Yeah. I've just graduated in business and I currently work as a marketeer as well.
Ah, okay. Good.
Hi,
David?
I'm David. I'm a Kenyan. I'm 30 years old. I've been playing rugby for the past 15 years.
Wow.
And I also recently graduated with a master's in accounting. And I'm also working as an accountant as well.
Ah, okay. Interesting profiles, guys.
So you both started from when you were quite young.
Yes.
What about you, David? Did you start it when you were in school or was it something outside of school?
I started rugby in high school
Okay.
when I joined Form 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is it very popular in Kenya?
Of late, yes. But by the time I was joining high school, it was only in select schools.
Okay.
So, but currently the popularity is growing. Yes.
And what attracted you to the sport?
The school I joined was one of the best rugby schools in the country, and they used to travel a lot, including going outside the country.
Is that a catch point for you? Traveling?
Yes. So I was interested. Basically, I wanted to travel, the opportunity to travel, because by the time I was joining the previous year, there were some guys who had gone to Dubai.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
So I was
very
like,
cool.
this is a good opportunity. I can manage to travel around the world.
That's good. And did you get to travel a lot?
Yes, but mostly within the country.
Ah,
Okay.
Yes.
Still good. David, you started playing 13 years ago. What's fascinated you? Why rugby?
Actually, I wasn't the first one that started rugby in my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Here in Malta, they used to, now they do it again. They started doing it again, but they used to go around to schools. There was a rugby coach, they used to go to schools. And basically, I used to do rugby sessions for kids. And my older brother got involved first. I went down to watch him train once.
To cheer him out, yeah.
Yeah, and I got involved, yeah. And I never looked back since, to be honest.
Oh, wow. So nothing else fascinated you except rugby? You didn't consider football? You didn't consider to swim? Basketball, nothing?
Well, I was always a fan of sports. I think that comes from the background that my family always practiced sports.
Okay.
I love football as well. However, rugby was the first sport that I practiced.
Okay.
Nothing special attracted to me to it. However, since it was the first sport that I was part in, I felt that I was doing quite well. I was part of something. While I was young, I was training twice a week. So yeah, I think that's being part of something kept me in the sport. And then once I figured out that, hey, I can do this for the long term, I said, why not keeping it?
When you say you can do it for a long time, what does that mean? Like you can make a profession out of it?
Well, not professionally. However, just it's a way of keeping active and something that I enjoy. So I see it as something that I can do on the side, not just as a hobby. Because, well, it is a hobby in reality, but something that I can take serious and I can grow as a person as well from it. So
Okay, exactly. David, I'm curious. When did you get into Malta? You got Malta wine?
I came to Malta in 2021. But the first time I came to Malta was in 2020 during summer.
As a tourist?
Yes. Previously, I was studying in Italy.
Okay.
So,
you were studying in Italy?
Yes, I was studying
Okay,
in
where
Italy.
in Italy?
In the University of Siena.
Ah, nice.
Do you
nice.
speak Italian?
Poco poco.
Un po'. Puoi parlare un po' in italiano?
So I came with my friends during summer to visit Malta. Then I was curious, like, because they speak English in Malta, and I come from an English-speaking country, so I was like, I would prefer coming to an English-speaking country, maybe. So I was like, maybe I can check if there's a rugby club around. That's how I found Kavallieri. Then I came for 2 training sessions during that summer in 2020. Then I kept in touch with the club president. So when I went back to Italy, after my studies, I came back.
As what?
So I came to work. I got a job.
Okay.
But one of the main reason
was Rugby.
was the club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was in
Interesting.
touch with the president, and he was like, "We are really interested in you coming to play for us." Then I was like, "Okay." So I decided also to look for a job. Then that's how I moved to Malta.
That's very interesting.
So is there levels to playing? So you start as an amateur. So if I want to start playing rugby now, I know I don't have any skill.
Yeah, we have
So-
no frame of reference for
so is there
this
like-
conversation.
Hierarchy. You start as an amateur
Well,
or spectator. I don't
You
know.
both have a lot of experience before you met each other and you were playing on
Yeah.
the same team, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, like any other sport, rugby can be found as a professional sport. There are different levels. There are amateurs like us.
You are amateur after 13
Yeah.
years.
I mean, the rugby in Malta is amateur. It's an amateur level.
Okay.
No one gets paid and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, there's amateur, then there's semi-pro, and there's professional as well. Yeah, those are the different types of
But your
levels.
club gets to represent Malta if there's a competition, no?
Sorry.
So your club, does it have to, you guys represent Malta when competition or something like that?
Well, not really. So there's a national team that does that for Malta,
Okay.
which is still an amateur side. We have a league, and there are 5 teams, which are all amateur.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works. So when our club, for example, takes part in a competition, it doesn't represent Malta per se. It represents
Your club.
the club. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so I wanted to know, I was going through the Kavallieri, correct?
Yes.
So I was going through your website, so that there are also female, people, there are also female players as well. But I wanted to know, is it something that is well accepted among ladies, playing rugby?
Not really.
No.
I know for you, even you are curious when you saw maybe the photos of ladies playing rugby, but it's not so popular among the ladies, but it's coming
Is
up.
there a reason?
Yeah, I think the main reason because rugby is a physical sport.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering, like.
That's why you'll find most ladies will shy away from it.
But
Would people consider it as a dangerous sport, maybe, given that it's more physical? I mean, I've seen sometimes some pictures of people at games, and it can get very rough. So
I
so-
mean, yeah, from the outside might look, or how people describe rugby, it might look a bit dangerous.
okay,
However, like there's this stat where the type of injuries are less, the longevity of injuries, or how do you say,
like the collision.
how big the injuries are.
how long the
yeah.
recovery
How-
is
yeah,
from the
yeah.
injury?
There's a stat where, let's compare football, for example. For football, there are worse injuries than there are in rugby.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Like broken bones and stuff like that. In rugby, you get more of dislocations, for example, of the shoulder, which which sounds bad on the air. However,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
neither of them.
When
Neither of
taking-
them sound like a walk in the park in someone, but
but
yeah, I get
when
what
you take
mean.
into consideration the recovery for a broken leg and the
yeah.
popped shoulder.
Yeah, I understand that. I wanted to ask you, David, how was your experience living in and studying in Italy, and how did living in Malta compare to that?
Of course, there's a big difference, especially in terms of language.
Yeah. So you arrived in Italy not speaking any Italian.
Yes, I arrived in Italy not speaking any Italian.
Okay.
But luckily, I was studying in English. So
Okay.
How long did you live in Italy?
2 years.
Oh, okay. Oh, so yes. Okay.
So Malta, because it's English speaking, so it's very easy for me to live compared to Italy, where I have to struggle and learn a new language, and I'm very bad at learning new languages. Although I speak like 5 languages from my country, but I don't know why it's hard for me to learn Italian. But yeah, I would say for me, living in Malta is a bit easy, especially in terms of language.
Did you have any culture shocks culturally? Because I mean, even if Malta and Italy are both in Europe, there's still in my experience, very different experiences also. And also it's very multinational because there are a lot of expats and foreigners in general that live here, depending also what part of Malta you live in. I don't know if that would be the same experience in Siena as well.
Siena is a touristic city, so basically you'll still meet lots of internationals, and also the university had lots of international students, so there was that mix. So on that bit, I think apart from the language, there's no much difference in terms of like culture shock.
Yeah.
Yes, the only maybe culture shock I would say is maybe the type of food, because the type of food I was used to back at home, it was a bit hard to get in Italy and also Malta. Yeah, but I'm also a curious person, so I came curious, trying to learn the new culture and experiment and try new foods and stuff like that. So it was not a big shock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how was the experience within the rugby team in itself? Because I remember we had talked about it before. It's a very multinational experience also within the rugby team. Has it always been like that, even from when you were playing as younger?
Yeah, I remember I always used to look up to the seniors team and go support them every game. I always remember we had expats, foreigners in our team. Like we had the last 10 years, we had a period where we had a lot of Eastern European players, for example. Now these past years we've had some South American as well, like Argentinian in particular. So we had some like these little clans of players, like they had the little groups. It was quite nice to have, to be honest, because different players, great abilities as well. They get different cultures. Yeah.
Does it tend to stay a cohesive environment within the team, or does everyone kind of tend to break off into their own nationality in a sense?
I think it really depends on the person, really.
Okay.
And the team itself as well. As Kavallieri, I can say, maybe David can say as well, that we are a very inclusive team. So whenever someone comes in, you try to include them really well. However, as I said before, for example, when we had these players that were from South America, obviously they are comfortable in speaking Spanish together, they are familiar with their culture. So yes, there will be these little groups, but it doesn't affect the harmony of the team, etc.
So there's no issue of a language barrier. How does the coach, as a coach, I suppose, how does the coach communicate?
Luckily, everyone spoke English.
Good.
However, when we had...
Is it a prerequisite?
Sorry?
Is it a prerequisite to join the team? You have to be able to speak English?
Well, in the team, fortunately, we have players that speak multiple languages. For example, we have players that speak French, players that speak English, obviously, players that speak Italian. So players like myself that spoke Spanish as well. So it was quite easy to communicate with such players. However, we've had some cases as well when Eastern Europeans came over to us. Their English was quite poor, unfortunately. So it was quite difficult to communicate. However, as we said previously in our meeting before, there are these worldwide terminologies in rugby, where if you say these words, everyone will understand. So that's maybe an advantage that we have over others.
Sure. So it's not going to be a problem if I play rugby in my country. I can also just immediately integrate into the team if I get here. Correct?
Well, as I said, it depends on the team and on the individual as well. It's not like this magical place where you're accepted immediately on the team.
No, apart from the acceptance, but I will be able to play. Like the skills are universal,
yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, as long as you know how to play.
Yes.
Language will be a bit a problem, but as long as you have the basic skills of playing, you'll be able to play.
Yeah, in fact, it should be somewhere you could also learn the language.
Yes.
That is been spoken on the country.
And also, I imagine if this is something that you have been accustomed to for a long time since you were a kid, for Malta specifically, but maybe it was your experience abroad as well, if it's always more or less the reality, because maybe it was a game and a sport that was popularized more abroad than it was nationally. You're kind of used to knowing that that will always be more or less the case. You will have people from other nationalities as well. And I think maybe in that sense, that can work as an advantage as well. To, as opposed to maybe a team that has always been a very, very local team, that everyone has always known each other. I imagine that someone new entering the group would be more uncommon compared to what it seems like your experience has been. So that's been good. And how long have you two been playing together since you came to Malta?
Yes.
Okay, so last couple of years.
Like 2 years
Like
now.
the past 2 years.
years.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you reach out to any other club apart from Kavallieri?
Not really.
How many clubs are there?
There are 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just reach out to them and they welcome?
Yeah, I just searched on Facebook the first club that I found. I reached out and that was it.
Wait. Okay. So when were you studying marketing in university? Because I wanted to know. Could it be that something your marketing is top notch? Like you guys are really on top of it.
Let's just say I helped in marketing.
You know, I know, because how could he search and they came top and he studied marketing? So I put it together.
So you're offering your services to the,
It's an
to the
advantage,
team,
right?
basically.
Yeah, I mean, I give back to the community.
Absolutely.
Multi-skilled experience.
Absolutely, that's good. That's good. How do you feel in the club, David?
It's a great experience, like Jethro said.
Not because Jethro is here.
No. Like he said.
He's your favorite, right? Oh, well, look. Sure.
So, like the team is an inclusive team. We have a mix of people from all over the Maltese. There's a time we had guys from France. We had the Argentinians. We had like 2 Kenyans. And so like you feel like the diversity makes the team, like when we go out, apart from when we are playing, because we usually have some events.
Yeah.
Like after the match, we usually go out to hang out.
Does it come often, whether you win or you lose? I mean, you're hanging out, Does it come only when you win or...
After every game, we usually go out
Okay.
at least for
Drink?
1-2 hours. We just have a chat. So obviously, when we lose, the feelings will be.
Down?
But still, we have something to talk about. Maybe there's something you did nice during the game, or someone else did during the game. You congratulate them, or when you win, it's even better.
I know.
We all have something to talk about. Yeah. So, like, my say at Kavallieri so far has been great.
Good.
Yeah, the team, the players, and everyone is supportive. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. So we are going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion around Ruby and your relationship on the Highland. Don't go away. The program is Face Value on 103 Malta's Heart.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
Welcome back to Face Value on 103 Malta's Hearts. Today with Rachel, we are joined by Jethro and David, and we're continuing our conversation around how they met and their relationship with rugby, specifically. We had left off actually with them explaining more or less how the social interactions outside of rugby also carry on, whether you win or whether you lose. But I was wondering, were there any memorable particular wins or losses that you've experienced together in the time that you've played on the team?
It's always nice to beat our rivals.
Everybody wants to win.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're not short of wins, but however, the season was a bit poor. But if I can recall maybe a very good memory from last year was when we beat one of the teams who was our rival. Like we were winning the whole game, then they drew with us, they were winning, and in the last few seconds one of our players won us the game, and that was quite a mental,
That must be amazing. So one of those like last second things.
Yeah.
That's so
Feels
cool.
great.
For you, is it the same match?
Yes.
Cool. Do you have any sort of like pet talk that either a coach does or some sort of routine that you do before going to the game or after you win? Oh God, how do you say it in English? I have no idea. Are you, I can't have the word in English, it doesn't come up. You know, like you are specific routines that you have to do for good luck. How do you say it? Having a block.
Maybe you're referring to a...
Are you superstitious? There you go.
Yes.
Are you superstitious? Are there things that you do for good luck before a game, after a game? Is there like a specific routine to hype up the team?
Yes, as a team.
How
As a
does it
team?
work?
Yeah.
Or also individually.
As a team, I mean, everyone has... So we have our warm-up together. Everyone does their individual skills, and we have a team warm-up. And then some of the team leaders and the captain talk in a huddle, and then we're good to go, I guess. Individually, I specifically follow a routine the morning of the game, but that's basically it. Nothing too special, however.
Because I would imagine, I don't know, for me, I've never been involved in sports, so let's start with that. But I think for me, I would psych myself out mentally way more than the actual physical execution of something. I think maybe like it would get to my head, so I would really need to be focused and hyped in that sense.
Yeah, I think you need to be focused. But I think everyone is different to start from there. However, for me, I don't really like to be ultra focused, tense, really thinking about it too much.
Just do your thing.
Maybe just visualize the game and whatnot, and just relax. Even listen to relaxing music, as well. Hard rock or...
It's not a do or die.
Yeah, and then you do your talking on the pitch, I guess.
What about you, David?
Yeah, like even me, I don't do anything special as such. Just listening to music, maybe in the morning, when going to the game, like just relaxing music. That's it, and focusing, just calming myself. Like I don't really think so much about the game because obviously you have trained, and mentally you know, because like winning is something mental. So when you are going to the game, you know when you are prepared well or not. So you don't overthink it. You just go play according to what you know. Yeah.
Did you have a tough time combining, or does it interfere with your full-time job, or you have a schedule, you have your peak period and your downtime? Is there a peak period in the season or off-season?
No, not really. Rugby doesn't really interfere with my job because my job is 8 to 5.
Okay.
And
So around what
we
time do
go
you
for
probably?
training from 7:30, I think, in the evenings. Then we usually play on Saturdays.
Okay.
And I work from Monday to Friday, so Saturdays I'm usually free. And in the evenings, we only train two days a week, so it doesn't really interfere with my job. And also we play only during winter, so...
Okay, it's only during winter.
Yes.
So this is like the end of the season for you guys, I think.
Yes.
Almost or end of the season. Is the season ended yet?
Yeah, the season ended last week.
Last weekend.
Yeah. However, there's like this. There are national games coming up as well. So whoever is picked for national team can play those games. So the season for clubs is finished. However, yeah, for the national team it keeps going. 'Cause
Okay.
Also in summer there's the Small Nations games for the states of Europe.
Cool.
And rugby is included in that because it's an Olympic sport as well.
Okay, and which country is hosting this? Where is it hosted?
Sorry,
Where is it hosted?
Hosted
This competition you're talking about.
when
It
is it?
hosted in Malta.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being hosted in Malta.
Okay, good. I would like to know. So, Ruby, initially when we were speaking, you had said that there used to be a program where you go to schools, and then is this something that your club still do till now, or?
Well, the club doesn't do it itself. It used to be like that. Every club has its own coach that goes to schools and stuff like that. But it's been now, like, you can say, neutralized, and it's been held by the Malta Rugby Football union.
Okay.
So the MRFU we call it. So it has its own coach, and it goes to these he goes to these schools and teaches rugby. Yeah, there's quite a.
So how do I then get incorporated into a club?
Well,
Are you
just
just joining, Rachel?
by just simply dropping a message and say I want to start rugby, I guess.
No, because if it's a neutral person that goes to the school, so if a child or somebody from the schools get trained by this independent person or neutral person,
Right.
how do you make that choice? I want to be part of Kavallieri, I want to be part of the other clubs.
Well, the aim of it is not to recruit players to clubs. It's to introduce people to rugby. So when these students go home and say, I really enjoyed that session in rugby at school.
So you then look out for
then they
clubs.
look out for clubs. And
Because it's still a growing sport, right?
yeah,
What do
is.
you think your club, or at least how rugby is as it is now in Malta, could do to encourage more people to play?
Well, luckily, Kavallieri is one of the leading, has one of the leading nurseries in Malta.
If you can say so.
Yeah, if you can say so. It has the most youths and kids playing in its nursery. So I think it's doing its bit, to be fair.
So at what age, when you say young people?
It's kids are encouraged to train rugby from the age of 7,
Okay.
and the youth section goes up until under 18s. So and from 7 till you're 17 or 18, you still play with youth,
Okay.
and then you make that jump to the seniors
Which is from what age?
from 18 and to
Till the end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a big group.
yeah. Funny story, actually. Our ex-president of Kavallieri, he's like 65, I think. Brian Miller showed. Yeah.
So,
He used to until 2 years ago. I think he made his last appearance.
Last
Wow.
Or last
year he
season,
played.
yeah. Until a year ago, he made his.
what is the criteria for fitness?
I mean, you have to be quite fit.
Is
You
there
have
a
to.
medical certificate or something?
No, for the World Rugby requires you to fill out a form. It's called Rugby Ready. So basically, there's some criteria you must meet.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but
So-
then because it's a physical sport,
Exactly.
you have to be fit again because
No, but it's a
No.
bit like also how football, I imagine, at a certain point, you stop playing professionally, I imagine, relatively youngish. Also, it depends what we mean by young. I mean, usually, like, what would your older player range be?
Oh, of course. I mean,
At what time would
If-
someone retire?
60, you said.
that's
That was an
a
exceptional
very high-
case.
yeah. I mean, it's different. I mean, if you're a professional with all this treatment, recovery plans, or nutrition, I mean, science is always advancing, you know. Players play until 35, 37 years old. But I mean, if you're an amateur and you do it for just a hobby, you can play until you want, really. But for peak performance, I say, maybe your maximum is 35, for example, 37.
Cut off. So young.
Why do you have say no to racism on your kids?
Come again? Sorry.
Why is say no to racism written on your kids?
Ah, right.
Yes.
I think it's a move. Not I think it's a movement by our club to kick out racism in not just in rugby. I mean, in anything. Our kids are. So we take photos during our game, for example. We have people coming over to take photos, and these photos are uploaded online, for example. And on our kits, obviously, there'll be written no to racism or whatever. I think it comes from the online culture of racial abuse and stuff like this.
You've encountered a lot of trolls on the internet saying,
Yeah, but not particularly Kavallieri. But it's
no.
something. It's a
in
movement
general,
for in
within
general.
the,
Yeah.
within the
Yes.
movement. So it's something, I mean, I imagine that if it's on your kids, something also must have
Triggered,
encouraged this
yeah.
to happen, you know? So, okay, interesting. You had mentioned the difference between seeing it as a hobby or seeing it as a professional sport. Has this always meant, and have you always lived it as a hobby, even though you've both been doing it for a long time? Or was there a point, or may there still be a point, where you would like to take this up professionally?
personally at this point, I'm not sure I would want to take it professionally because
Why?
obviously
It doesn't pay much.
no, it pays. It pays pretty well, actually. But also one factor is age.
Okay.
I'm not growing any younger, so And then for you to play professionally,
You have to get in early.
age is also a
Yeah.
very big factor. And then I'm at this point also in life, I'm settling in my career, and so I think I would not really take that route. Yes, but at some point I was interested, because back home in Kenya, rugby is really growing, and our national sevens team is a professional. They play professionally, and I have quite a few friends who are in the national team, and they are playing professionally. So I had that dream, but at this point in time, I think it's in the past. So yes.
So it was a bigger thing maybe in Kenya compared to your experiences here in Italy and Malta?
For Malta, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So rugby is just a bigger thing maybe
Yes.
in
Yes.
terms of national. Okay.
What about you, David? Jethro, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's never say never.
Okay.
Because I take my rugby quite seriously. I train like 15 hours a week minimum.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a commitment to me.
Yeah. Because I play for national team, I play for a club, and then there's all the gym work that you need to do and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, taking my age into factor, I'm 21. Probably I won't make it to professional, because you have to be scouted very young to, and also you have to go abroad to get your opportunity when you rank. And obviously, I didn't do that. Yeah, maybe semi-pro. I aspire to do so. However, not just yet. But as I said, never say never. So it could be I settled into my marketing career, or I'm not there yet. I didn't take a decision yet.
Makes sense. Well, if anything, you're doing marketing for the team, for the club, you're set on that side.
Not alone.
So you've been doing it so consistently for such a long time, right? Has there ever been a phase in your life where for whatever reason you couldn't do it? Because it seems like it's really fully part of your life.
I mean, there were times where rugby interfered with my studies and job as well. I used to work till 7, and we used to train at 7, for example, stuff like that. And then you have to come home from school, you're tired, you have to go to the gym, and it sounds a bit of a hassle. But however, if you put your mind to it and you really want to do something, at the end of the day, you have to do it, and you wouldn't mind doing it. At least that was my experience. But everyone is different, so...
Yeah. Would you say that Ruby, or is there a rule around the team that instill this type of discipline in you, that expects that level of commitment from you as a member of the team? Say you have to attend trainings for you to play, stuff like that?
I don't think it's expected from the club that you go and train. I mean, we're amateur. At the end of the day, So what sort of disciplinary measures are there for the team? I mean, it comes from the individual at the end of the day.
Okay.
For me, I just wanted to achieve to play for national team, or maybe one day play semi-pro or professional. I had a dream when I was young. So I always attend training and stuff like that. However, again, every individual is different. So if one takes it as a hobby and the other takes it seriously, one might feel committed to go because of his personal development, and the other might feel not to go because it's just a hobby, or else he might feel that he wants to go because he respects his teammates and he wants to succeed with his rugby club. So there are different aspects of the spectrum at the end of the day.
So no expectations really from the club to you?
Well, no, but yes, again, because I mean, if a club feels and the players feel that they can win something, then the players might feel committed that they want to go, and the club expects them. But again, we're an amateur team, so there's not really that pressure that people have to go. You're not fined if you don't go.
I know.
Is there a big turnover of people that play in your team? Or does everyone generally stay for a long time?
I think I can say there's a big turnover. Not so big, but there's quite a good number of people coming and leaving, because we have a good number of internationals. So some come for a short period of time and leave for whatever reasons. Maybe they just came for holiday to work for a few months or a year, then they moved back to their country. So yeah, with the internationals, it's there, yes.
Something that might help us as well is that because our club is very youth focused, as one of the biggest nurseries in Malta, every year we get an influx of players from the youth academy. So that maybe keeps the culture the same, and we have a good base of local players that whatever happens with foreign players is like the club is covered because every year they have youths coming through to play. So that might help as well.
Yeah, but I can imagine it must be a bit tricky in terms of what we were talking about before, the sense of communication and teamwork. If there's new people coming in and new people leaving every time, it's sort of you're rebuilding that relationship in a sense.
Yes, you're right. I think
but that also brings a lot of like elasticity in that sense. Also, you're adapting to new personalities in and out. I don't know. I'm imagining, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. And also I think we can agree, both of us, David, because we've experienced it this season, for example. Like we've had multiple people from last year who were important players to the club. They were very good, who left for work reasons, for example, or they went back to family. And we had to reset because these players were not replaced. So you enter a rebuilding phase, you know?
It's true. It affects the team. Like Jethro said, like this season we could not perform the way we did last season because we lost quite a good number of players and important players for different reasons. Some left for work, some went back to their countries, and so the team had we are currently undergoing a rebuilding phase.
A particular club comes to mind now in football.
Yeah, but luckily we have the youth, so we had some
backups, so to speak.
Yes, backups, so to speak. Although, like, they were not to that level, but at least they are young, they are learning. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully next season will be better. You know. Away from Ruby, so how has life been for you living in Malta as a Kenyan now? Outside of Ruby. You have your full-time job. So how is life living in Malta as an expat for you?
I can say when I first arrived, it was an interesting experience. Considering I came from Italy and I had arrived in Europe at the worst time during the COVID restrictions. And so when I arrived in Malta, like the restrictions was being eased. Then I also, like, because of the language, I was able to meet many people. You could communicate, you could go out, hang out. We have the sea, like it's easy. You can go on a boat ride, swim, have parties. So I can say life outside rugby has been good, but rugby helped me to settle in very fast.
Yes.
Because like through rugby I was able to meet so many different people. So at least you don't feel like bored. During weekends you can go out and you'll meet rugby guys. So rugby helped me to integrate so easily.
I like that. So we should advocate for people, for expats and other nationalities who come on the island. When you join this type of social gatherings, sports clubs and all this, and it helps you to integrate better. I mean, you really don't feel
Yes, it's very true. It's very true. Yes.
Anyway, we'll go on a short break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. The program is still Face Value on 103 Malta's Heart. Stay with us.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.
And we're back with Face Value, joined by David and Jethro, and we were talking on this last portion of the episode about the relationship with rugby, and now we were just picking up on also what the social aspect is and the social significance is of having something that is outside of just work or school. And I think it's so important. You raised such an important point to think, especially when you're a new person coming to a new country. On your perspective, Jethro, you have the opportunity of meeting new people and meeting people from different nationalities. And on your perspective, David, you're just coming to a new place and you're already have automatically a community that you can fit into. That is so cool. I've never experienced that because I don't have sports as a stronghold in a sense. So
Me neither.
yeah, I was about to ask you about
No.
that. If you have any relationship with sports, or have you ever done anything professionally?
No. But it's not just sports. Anything that is outside of your normal circle of people, friends, and all that will really help you to integrate, I believe. Away from that, how has your involvement in rugby helped you in interacting with other people? Maybe
For me,
Jethro, rather.
it really helped me build confidence, and I was quite a shy kid as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that.
No, I was, to be honest, and
Okay.
I think when you start training well, you feel confident about yourself, about your body, for example, even when you go to the gym and stuff. It builds confidence, and I think that transcends when you talk to people. For example, instead of
can read
looking
it.
down, you look them at the eye, in the eyes. For me, it helped me that way. For others, it might help them different aspect, maybe.
Does it also help you in your openness to other nationalities?
Come again, sorry.
Does it help you with your relationship with other nationalities as well?
Yeah, of course. I think that comes naturally, however. As I've been playing with foreign players for quite a while now. However, not just in rugby, in work, in school as well. I used to work as a waiter, for example.
Okay,
And
of
I think
course.
it's quite well known that a lot of Eastern Europeans work as waiters, bartenders, or whatever in Malta. And I had the experience to meet such great people, even at school, in university and whatnot. So
Yeah.
not just rugby helps, to be honest.
That's becoming maybe more of a common thing. It's interesting because this is something we had mentioned more times on the show. Everyone has a different experience on that. Sometimes it can feel very polarizing. Instead, you can maybe have your entire life and your family and your friends are always more or less the same circle. So it's interesting in your experience that you've been exposed to different nationalities from a young age, and it doesn't even feel as anything different then. So it's always nice to hear as well, that part of it. But yes, it's interesting to see. Of course, you mention of a sport and you talk about a sport as a sport, but then that seeps in through everything that you do in your life. So you were talking about confidence specifically. I was wondering, has this affected also maybe your sense of discipline, of teamwork? How was that experience for you?
Yes, for me, rugby has had a very big influence in my personal life outside of rugby itself. Because personally also growing up, I cannot say I was a shy kid, but I'm usually like an introvert. I don't talk too much, but through rugby, because obviously it's a physical sport, it's a team sport, you have to talk to people, you have to communicate. So through that, I was able to I've been able to interact with different people, create friendships, create networks, and that's how I just find myself knowing different peoples without having to force myself, because naturally it would be hard for me to just walk to random strangers and talk to them. But because maybe we played against each other in a rugby match, we can meet on the streets, we'll obviously talk because we have something to talk about. Maybe we lost to them or they lost to us. So obviously the conversation would come naturally. So personally, rugby has really helped me so much in
that aspect of your life.
yes.
Was it very easy someone to connect also, because you mentioned there are also different clubs? How is it structured, and how easy was it for you maybe to find this and to be able to be part of this club specifically? Was it just maybe through social media? Is it word of mouth? Is it a very big network that is based here of rugby players?
In Malta, because the clubs are only 5, it's when you're playing as long as you're playing rugby for a particular club, chances are you know all other rugby players. So when you meet them outside there, it's like you know each other. So it's easy to interact and socialize, because maybe you go out, you find guys from these other clubs.
So that happens also.
I'm curious, how does the club run? Is it based on volunteering, or there are some full-time staff who run the affairs of the club? Say, for instance, the marketing aspects, the coaching. Is it based on volunteering or is it a full-time job? How does the administration of the club
Basically, it's volunteering.
work? Wow.
Jethro volunteers as in marketing. I volunteer as a treasurer.
Okay,
I help the
accounts?
club with the accounts.
Accountant?
Yes, and also during like we usually have club events. Like I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago we had an event, and basically the players just volunteer their time, ideas to run the events of the club.
What kind of events do you do? Is it for people who are already in the community, or you're trying to reach out to people outside?
Well, there are different types. There are some that are for players, some that are family gatherings as well. For example,
nice.
We do something for Christmas. For example, Kavallieri, we have this Kavallieri Christmas event where we play a match. The current team plays a match against the old team of the past, from 20, 15 years ago. And after every family of the player who played or whatever, and their kids and stuff, everyone comes together for lunch, which is quite nice to have.
Oh, that's
And
sweet.
for example, for players only, then there's the awards night, for example. So
Cool.
players get credited for what they've done towards the season. Yeah, a lot of stuff like this. But then we do other social events for example, our club at the moment is handling car boot sales. So to generate extra funds and stuff. It's quite impressive how.
So you have some charity activities as well?
Yeah, it's quite impressive how a lot of people who are just connected through a club come together for just this one cause, to be honest.
Yes. So talking about your charity activities now, so what's is it like for a season you decide that okay, we are going to support this organization, we are going to go for this charity? How do you decide on what to do? Is it something you do every season?
Yeah. I mean, every season there's a plan of what needs to be achieved, and
For a particular charity cause or just
not just charity, even for the club.
So when you do the car boots in the boot sales, it's usually for the club sometimes and for charity sometimes.
Charity is not so the car boot sales. The part of it which is charity is for the players themselves. So, for example, the club organizes a tour and the player cannot pay his way there, so the club maybe can
raise funds through
the car boot sale. So yeah, not to an organization, but to help, for example, its players to attend.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's that sense of community or family around it, like what affects one affects one, so to speak. That's impressive. So I'm wondering now, if I want to get in touch with Kavallieri, yes, how do I go about it? I search for you on social media, or how do you reach out? How do you get new players? How do you make yourself known out there?
Like I said, we run social media campaigns, mostly on Facebook. They're usually adverts of recruitment adverts. So anyone who is interested in joining our club can just send a message, and we have volunteers who usually respond. So depending on maybe the age and level of experience of the person interested, then there will be the coach who is concerned. If it's a kid, the coach in charge of kids will be linked to the player, or if it's a senior player, they will be linked to the coach who's in charge of the seniors. Or for the ladies
when they
team,
say if you're having a conversation, your microphone in your phone is on, and they listen to the conversation and it will show you exactly. Now I want to see on Facebook when I go home tonight. It shows me marketing of Kavallieri. I will get back to you on that. So once and for all, if this is true.
yeah, when you send a message, someone will obviously respond.
But usually like you're talking about I need to buy a new shampoo or something, and then the ad pops up.
These cookies is like
cookies, So
cookies, they eavesdrop a lot.
Yeah, you don't even have to look it up. You just need to have to talk about it, and then it comes up. So we'll see if this marketing will have worked. Have you had a chance to play against other international teams often, or to travel abroad?
As a club?
Yeah. We've had in the past. We do travel on a tour almost once every year, or whenever, and to play in other teams from other, but not like official competitions, because just to play a friendly, for
Like
example,
friendly.
or play in a tournament like that.
Okay.
Yeah, like this year the club is organizing a tour to Belgium
Okay.
it's May, end of June, between May and June, end of May and early June. Yes. And then we also have some foreign teams which come over.
Maybe for pre-season to prepare for the season coming. So maybe we have, if we don't find a local team to play against, for example, it might be better to play against a foreign team. They come over and they basically play a friendly match, for example, to prepare you for the coming season.
Okay. And how does it work in that sense, and socially? Like, if it's maybe the first time that they come to Malta, is there some sort of like friendly interaction beforehand? You show them around or something, or it's just you meet, you play, and that's it?
Not really. I think it's just the transaction is just play the match and that's
Alright.
it. However, there's this thing called in rugby third half.
Okay.
So to put you in perspective, a rugby match has 2 halves.
Okay.
So the third half would
Thank
be
you.
the social and would be the social aspect of it.
Alright.
So this doesn't happen with touring teams only. I mean, after every game we play.
It's part of the routine.
Yes, it's a rugby culture thing.
Okay.
Happy
So
to
you
join
have
for
a-
the third half. We can do that.
You have
No
a beer,
worries.
you have a snacks with you have a chat as well with the other team.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Nice.
And also during the third half, basically what usually happens is, if maybe we are organizing a third half with the opponents, we will nominate a player whom we think was a man of the match from the other side, and then they will do
Nominate
then-
a player who was what? Sorry?
like
Most
who we
valuable.
think was the best player from our opponents,
okay.
and then they will also do the same thing,
Uh-huh.
and then they have to compete for a drink to see who is now the final winner.
Interesting.
But also, if we are organizing it just within ourselves, as we usually do, we take it as an opportunity maybe to initiate a new player, someone who has played for the seniors for the first time also.
yeah.
Yes.
What would you say is the future of rugby on the island?
Good question. I mean, honestly, its first goal must be for sure to keep growing rugby, because it's not
Now?
the most prominent sport out there on the islands, not the island sport, you know what I
It
mean?
will be after this episode, I'm telling you.
Now they know.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the first goal, honestly, and then they'd have to move on from there. But I think the recognition of the sport has to be put out there first.
Okay. So the authorities are not doing enough.
Because I think it's about the union itself, about the clubs doing more, because the authorities, I mean, they might get involved, but however, you have to show promise as well. You know, maybe more opportunities, for example, for grounds of rugby. There's only one, and that we play on. Maybe more opportunities for land like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe
So
funds.
incentives, yeah.
Or maybe funds as well, you know. But there's not only rugby as a sport, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. There are other. So the competition is quite tough, you know.
Yeah.
Every sport wants to be priority. Yeah. David, what is your last word? Anything about rugby? Anything you want to say?
What I can say is rugby is a very nice sport, and I would encourage anyone out there who's interested to join it, especially if for parents, if they have small kids and they want the kids maybe to grow in confidence, to create those networks, to have discipline in life. It will be a great opportunity to use rugby as a way of helping the kids, because through rugby you don't have to tell the kid to be disciplined or to be committed to do something, because we usually say once you start playing rugby you can never stop. So through that, if you introduce a small kid to rugby, then basically it will be able to mold their life. That discipline or whatever they learn through rugby, it will help them also in their personal life outside of rugby. So, and I will love if all of them join Kavallieri. We have a youth academy, and we have dedicated coaches. So
Great.
Okay.
Great. We're hearing you loud and clear.
There you have it, yes. Kavallieri Club is the place to be if you want to join rugby. It has been an interesting conversation with Jethro and David.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yes. So, and we have come to the end of today's episode of Face Value, where we've been exploring the relationship between Jethro and David around rugby. Thank you for listening to us. See you next time, Elena.
Well, I'm Anna.
And I am Rachel.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Face Value. We'll be back same time next week. And if you want to listen to also past episodes, make sure to follow us on social media. And you can listen to the full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.
Face Value, in collaboration with African Media Association, Migrants Commission, and 103 Malta's Heart.